This morning I stood in front of the mirror. The jeans that used to be my best friend stalled halfway, the button wouldn't budge. My waist isn't the teammate it was at 40. My shoulders are a touch rounder. That old favorite top. The minute I sit down, it puffs right where I'd rather it didn't. For a long time, I handled that discomfort the fastest way I knew how. Throw on a big tunic, add a cardigan, head down, move quickly. But the more I covered up, the more I disappeared from myself. Under the harsh lights of a fitting room, every line and year showed up uninvited. I'd hold my breath, swap sizes, and walk out empty-handed. Meanwhile, my closet turned into a row of when I lose weight pieces, year after year. I remember the woman I used to be, shoulders back, crisp white shirt, quick step, face lit up because she knew who she was. Somewhere along the way, my body changed and I got confused, convinced smaller meant better. Then one morning, right between a stubborn zipper and a deep sigh, a new thought arrived. I don't need to be smaller, I need to be in sync. A designer once told me, don't hide. We're just redesigning the life cycle of your wardrobe. That line felt like someone taking my hand. I started looking at my body with more kindness, and at clothes as a bridge, not a wall. If you've ever stood in front of your mirror and sighed at a pair of old jeans, I'd love for you to come with me. Not to go back to 30, but to look gorgeous in the proportions of today. Ahead, I'll share 3 small keys, light enough to carry, strong enough to change everything. A good fit is a courtesy to your body. Shift a blazer button by about ½ an inch and poof, the split-in-two tummy disappears. The shape looks slimmer and nothing is being squeezed. Tiny, kind adjustments can feel like magic. It took me a while to learn this, but it stuck. Fit is not tight. Fit is a courtesy to the body you have today, fabric that glides, not grabs, seams that move with your breath instead of holding it hostage. Once I saw it that way, getting dressed became a kind conversation with myself, not a tug-of-war between hiding and showing. I started with my blazer. My tailor tapped a little chalk dot and said, "Breathe in, breathe out, stand naturally." She set the button where my body is naturally narrow when I'm relaxed. One tiny shift and the closure no longer cut my midsection in half. From the side, an easy ghost waist appeared, created by placement, not pressure. At home, I'll test it with a safety pin. Button up, snap a side photo. If my lower belly looks smooth and my shoulders still fall clean, I've found my coordinates. I also stopped testing clothes only while standing. Real life happens sitting, driving, coffee, tying a shoe. A top that's fine standing up, but bites when you sit is a top that isn't polite yet. A small V-shaped gusset at each side seam gives fabric room to breathe. I ask for a 3/1-inch, 2-3 cm triangle in a similar stretch. Suddenly, when I sit, the fabric falls softly and those stubborn horizontal lines across the tummy disappear. Pretty while sitting is my fairest fit test. I let go of high empire cuts that turn me into a little tent. Instead, I nudge the waist emphasis just an inch above my natural waist. The change is subtle but real. Legs read longer, the upper belly quiets, and the proportions feel adult and modern. No new dress. I cheat with a slim belt or a soft tie in back to suggest a waist. Suggest, don't underline. At the neckline, I choose a slender V with a clean facing. I don't need a deep plunge. I need a bit of air at the collarbone so eyes lift to my face. With crewnecks, I'll undo one extra shirt button or have the neckline lowered a 3-inch and finished neatly. A delicate pendant landing near the sternum continues that gentle vertical line. Sleeves stop at my narrow point, 3/4 or just where the forearms slims. Wrists rarely betray us. Hitting that spot makes the whole arm look sleeker. The non-negotiable is ease. I leave 3/1-inch of room around the upper arm so the fabric slides when I lift a glass or wave hello. If a sleeve is eating my arm, I'll release the seam or add a tiny vent at the cuff. Over time, I built a quick fit sense. Shoulder seams rest right on the bony tip, never slipping down the arm, never creeping up the neck. Shirt buttons don't gape when I take a deep breath. If they do, I add a hidden button or a slim magnet. When I sit, the front doesn't turn into a tight horizontal band. If it does, I think gusset or swappier fabric. Jacket hems never end at the fullest part of my tummy. If they do, I drop the length a bit. Armholes let me reach up without the whole garment lifting. If not, a tiny armhole release works wonders. And my 3-breath test. Put it on, breathe in and out 3 times. If I forget I'm wearing it by the 3rd breath, that's fit. If some spot still nags, popping button, pulling seam, sticky armhole, it's time to tweak. One afternoon, I brought a white shirt with a frayed collar to my tailor. She smoothed the edge and smiled. "She's been with you a long time, let's keep her going." That sentence stopped me. Clothes carry memory. We don't have to throw them out, we can realign them with who we are today. And that led me to the next door, fabric. A perfectly placed button and the kindest gusset can still fall short if the cloth is too thin, it clings. Too stiff, it adds bulk, or refuses to move. Fit is the frame, flow is the breath. A considerate frame with a shallow breath still tires you out. So right after we treat our bodies with the courtesy of fit, let's talk flow. Choosing fabric that breathes, drapes, and plays nicely with light, so every step feels lighter than the last. Flow, your fabric has to breathe. One lazy Saturday, I wore a thin satin dress to breakfast with my daughter. Standing up, it looked fine. The second I sat on that wicker chair in the sun, the fabric glued to my tummy like wet paper. I changed into a matte crepe dress with a bit more weight and everything exhaled. Sitting didn't pull, standing didn't feel stiff. That's when it clicked. Flow isn't fancy. It's the daily breath between your body and your clothes. My simple formula. Not too thin, not too stiff, and always some drape. Ultra-thin fabric tells stories you'd rather keep to yourself. Stiff fabric adds volume you never asked for. The sweet spot is quietly refined. Viscose/lyocell/tencel, matte crepe, light twill, ponte, a medium-weight jersey, or linen blended with rayon. These fall along the body instead of sticking to it. Matte surfaces soften the look of the upper belly. And when you walk, they move down the body, not out to the sides. When I try on clothes, I do 3 quick tests. First, the sit test, 10 seconds, feet flat. If the front turns into a tight horizontal band or the skirt flips against my middle and springs back, that fabric is fighting me. Fabric that breathes will fall softly toward the hips without a hard ridge. Second, the 5-step walk. If the hem balloons sideways or pants flare right at the hip, I go up a half notch in weight, or choose an angled/bias hem that leads the eye downward. Third, the reach and hug. If the armhole bites, the shoulder lifts, or the front wrinkles into an X, I'm missing drape and ease. In stores, I also do the scrunch and release. Grab a handful of fabric, let go, and see how fast it recovers. And the light test, hold it up. If you can clearly see your hand through it, it may cling in real life. Climate matters. In heat and humidity, I lean on tencel/viscose/lyocell, matte crepe up top, and avoid ultra-thin poly that loves sweat. For pants, light twill or a thinner ponte holds its line without feeling stiff. In cooler weather, wool crepe, double knit, and medium ponte keep shape and flow. Fine gauge knits fall down instead of puffing out. Linings should be smooth and breathable. Rayon works, so jackets glide over dresses instead of grabbing. Length is a flow tool too, to dodge the horizontal rule. Jacket hems either stop at the hip bone before the fullest point or pass beyond it. Skirts with a gentle side slit or an asymmetric hem create a moving vertical line. Let prints run with the vertical, pinstripes, subtle chevrons, tiny textured grain like crepe or fine knits, so the eye travels up and down, not side to side. I once brought 2 olive dresses into the fitting room, one shiny and thin, one matte and just a touch heavier. Sitting down, the shiny one told my whole tummy story. The matte one kept a kind secret. I chose the secret, not to hide myself, but so people see me first. To keep flow steady, I check the hidden structure. Bias cut skirts and dresses hug softly without clinging. Pleats should angle or start below the fullest point. A big box pleat dead center can bloom where you don't want it. Lining should breathe and slip. A little stretch, about 2–4% elastane, is enough for movement. Too much in a thin fabric just grabs. I read labels for personality, not percentages. Rayon/viscose/tencel equals cool and drapey. Polyester equals durable and shape-holding, but clingy when too thin. Nylon/elastane equals stretch. Fine wool equals warm and fluid. Linen equals airy with texture, gentler when blended with rayon. One afternoon at the park with my grandchild, I wore a tencel top and straight-leg light twill pants. I ran, crouched, tied little shoes, then realized I hadn't tugged my clothes once. That's flow, when you forget what you're wearing because it's doing its job. And once fit is kind and flow is in rhythm, there's one last key. Focus, guiding the eye to your face, your wrist, your ankle, so the story is you, not your midsection. Ready to shift the spotlight? Let's go. Focus, guide the eye to where you bloom. One late afternoon at a little corner cafe, sunlight slanting across the table, I had my outfit right. Good fit, easy fabric, and yet the person across from me kept glancing center. I smiled to myself. I'd forgotten focus. Eyes aren't neutral, they're led. If we don't invite them somewhere, they'll park themselves where things look the busiest. Since that day, I've practiced moving the spotlight the way you move a houseplant into better light. Start at the face, skim the wrist, land at the ankle. Up top, a slim V-neck with a clean finish, or simply unbuttoning one extra shirt button draws a gentle vertical line from chin to sternum. The neck looks longer, skin looks brighter, and nothing needs to plunge. I skip chunky, tight collars and let a delicate pendant fall to mid-chest, so the eye travels down and naturally returns to my face. Long, slender earrings create vertical movement without adding width. Frames with a slight lift at the outer corners feel like a soft smile, and hair tucked to graze the cheekbones makes a calm frame so the picture shines. At the wrist, the naturally slim spot, I nudge sleeves to 3/4 length or to the narrow point of my forearm. I leave a little ease so fabric glides when I pour tea or raise a glass. A medium-sized watch with a slim strap, worn just loose enough to move, or a fine bracelet is plenty. Think punctuation, not exclamation, a period, not a billboard. At the ankle, I reach for a low block heel, about 1:1. 5 inches with a softly tapered, not sharp, toe and real arch support. A lower cut vamp that shows a touch of the foot's V line pulls the eye down and then back up, making the leg read longer while the step stays comfortable. Shoes in a shade close to your skin tone or to your pants/skirt keep the eye traveling in one clean line. If I want a little sparkle, I choose a subtle sheen instead of loud hardware. I also learn to place, not scatter. When earrings and neckline already sing, I keep the neck simple. If I add a scarf, I let it fall straight or tie it low so it strengthens the vertical, not a horizontal band. Belts become anchors, not spotlights, slim, color-matched, resting at the natural waist to describe, not underline. A crossbody strap gets adjusted so the bag doesn't park on my midsection. Brooches migrate to the shoulder or lapel, never the waist, and I keep the clothing surface quiet, matte, drapey, fine-textured, so those 3 highlights can glow without the outfit getting noisy. On my face, a tinted balm with a soft sheen and the lightest touch of blush are often enough. At a friend's birthday, I wore a tone-on-tone set. Matte V-neck top, side zip, front flat pants, 1/4-inch block heels close to my skin tone, long, slender earrings, a thin bracelet. People asked about my lipstick, complimented how comfortably I walked. No one asked if I'd lost weight, a question that tires at any age. That's when I knew. When the face, wrist, and ankle are lit, the stage at the midsection dims all by itself. Focus doesn't make us smaller. It makes our presence bigger, right place, right time. Proportion. Walk lighter, live longer. Sunny morning, full-length mirror. My fit was kind, my fabric breathed, my focus was on point, yet the outfit still felt off. The jacket hem hit the fullest part of my tummy. My pants were a touch short for the shoes. Each piece looked good alone, but together they were playing different songs. That's when I knew. Time to talk proportion. How lengths, widths, and movement work together so your body can move easily through the day. My rescue rule is 1/32/3. Let roughly 1/3 be top and 2/3 be bottom, so the eye gets a long vertical glide. What derails that glide? Hems that stop smack in the middle of the body. So jacket hems either stop at the hip bone before the fullest point or pass beyond it mid-hip, even just above the knee for dusters. Cardigans are best at the ends of the spectrum, cropped just under the bust to emphasize that vertical V, or long to draw a line straight down. The in-between lengths make the eye stall. A touch of shoulder structure helps sleeves fall straight, and gentle shaping, princess seams, curved darts, suggests a waist without squeezing. For pants, I swear by a front flat look. Minimal front details, slim side pockets, and a side zip to keep the tummy smooth. A mid to high rise that hugs, not squeezes, gives you a calm front under your top. Leg shapes that keep the vertical line, straight or slim straight. A very soft boot cut can balance shoulders and hips. Hems are your conductor's baton. They should kiss, not hover, just touch the top of the shoe so the leg line stays long. Too high, you cut the leg. Too long, you weigh down your stride. Love crops. Aim about 1 inch above the ankle with a lower cut vamp and tapered toe so the line keeps flowing. Color can build proportion for you. An inner column, top and bottom in a similar tone, with an open jacket in a different shade, creates a peaceful vertical stripe. High contrast, top vs bottom divides the body into 2 blocks. If you wear it, counterbalance with a longer jacket. Skirts love proportion too. A midi A-line that lands a hand's width below the knee or at the upper third of the calf reads graceful. A subtle side slit turns every step into a moving vertical. Asymmetric or bias cut hems help fabric fall along the body instead of sticking or flaring sideways. I avoid bulky center front details, box pleats, big bows, wide ruffles, and push the fun to the shoulders, neckline, or hem. Belts. Think slim 3-1 and tone-on-tone at the natural waist or nudged up about 1 inch there to describe, not underline. Proportion is also a balance beam. If the top has volume, a thicker knit, a structured shoulder, keep the bottom clean and narrow. If the bottom is wide, full skirt, wide leg, quiet the top, sleek, simple, matte. Shoes finish the vertical, the V of the foot, a lower cut vamp plus a 1-1. 5 block or wedge heel lifts the body and lowers the shoulders. Thick ankle straps or high shafts can chop the leg, choose with care. Accessories act like anchors, not anchors that sink. A slim belt, a scarf worn long, and a crossbody strap adjusted so the bag doesn't park on your midsection. I think of a day at the museum. Deep sea blue inner column, a soft blazer that passed the fullest part of my hip, front flat straight pants, and 1/4 tapered block heels close to my skin tone. I moved quietly, not just because the shoes were kind, but because every length agreed with every other length. That's proportion singing. Even the smartest ratios on paper need a reality check. After I line up fit, flow, focus, proportion, I do my 3-minute ritual. Snap a side photo, sit for 10 seconds, walk 5 steps. It's as gentle as a breathing exercise, and strong enough to send me out the door with real confidence. The fitting room ritual, 3 minutes to feel good all day. Once I fell head over heels for a dress in the fitting room. The next morning at work, I kept tugging the hem, fussing with the seams, sighing. That's when it hit me. A mirror moment isn't enough for a whole day of living. I needed a tiny ritual, like a breathing exercise, to tell me if a piece would actually go the distance. Since then, I've kept a simple 3-minute ritual. 1 minute for a side photo, 1 minute to sit, 1 minute to walk. Minute 1, the side photo. I prop my phone at hip height, about 2 big steps away, set a 3-second timer, and take a 45 degrees side shot while I'm relaxed, shoulders down, belly breathing. That photo is more honest than a straight-on mirror. I scan the vertical line from shoulder to waist to hip. Does it flow, or does a cardigan hem, waistband, or jacket edge slice me in half? If a jacket stops right at my fullest point, I switch lengths, either end at the hip bone before the curve or go past it. Red flags I note: tight horizontal pull lines at the tummy, an X at the bust buttons, armholes that yank my shoulders up. Those mean tiny tweaks. Release the armhole a hair, shift a button about an inch, or add a small V-shaped gusset at each side so the fabric can breathe. I check the neckline too. A slim, tidy V lifts the eye to the face better than a closed crew. Lowering a neckline about 1/2 inch can brighten the face and quiet the midsection. Minute 2, the sit test. Real life happens sitting. I pull out a chair, sit tall with both feet on the floor, and slowly count to 10. Some fabrics confess after a few breaths. Is the waistband gently hugging or digging a ridge? If it's cutting, I look for a mid/high rise that's kinder, or move the zipper to the side for a flatter front. If the front panel forms a tight band, I think gusset, around 3/1, or switch to a slightly weightier, matte fabric like crepe or light twill. Button front top gaping. I add a hidden anchor button or a tiny magnet. If needed, I nudge the button over another inch. If a skirt keeps bouncing off my tummy, I try a bias cut or a subtle asymmetric hem so movement goes down the body, not out. Minute 3, the walk test. I put on my real outer layer, my everyday bag, and the shoes I actually wear. 5 steps forward and back, then a slow spin. I watch the way hems move, vertical and calm or flaring sideways at the hips. If pants bell out at the midsection, I choose a touch heavier fabric or a straight/slim straight leg. Hem rule of thumb: kiss, don't hover. Let full-length hems just touch the top of the shoe. Cropped hems work best about 1 inch above the ankle with a lower-cut vamp and a softly tapered toe so the leg line keeps going. I check my posture in low, kind heels, about 1.5. Do my shoulders drop and my chin lift on their own? If I glide, it's a yes. Bag strap check. Don't let it park on the tummy, raise or drop it a notch so your center looks calmer. Bonus 15 seconds. Reach up like you're grabbing the top shelf, give someone a hug, crouch to tie a shoe. If the armhole bites, a button pops, or the front strains, I jot fixes. Release the armhole a smidge, add a hidden button, lower the V about 1/2 inch. My 3 closing questions: am I breathing comfortably? Is my midsection visually smooth when I sit and when I walk? Does the eye travel the route I want? Face right arrow wrist, right arrow ankle, or does it stall in the middle? 3 yesies, I keep it. 2 yesies and a not yet. I tailor it, shift a button, add a gusset, adjust the hem, move the zipper. Fewer than that, I smile, say not today, and save my love for something better. I keep a tiny cheat sheet in my phone. Shift buttons, tilde, gusset, tilde 3-1. Consider a side zip. Hems that kiss the shoe. Lower a V about a 3. Ease the armhole, tilde. Breathable, slippery linings, rayon/tencel, so layers glide. Since treating alterations like a love language, my clothes get me, like adjusting the driver's seat before a long trip. Some days I do the ritual and walk out empty-handed, and feel light because I said no at the right time. The next day I move a blazer button at the corner tailor, repeat the 3 checks, and laugh at how different I feel. Real confidence can be bought with good fit and 3 kind minutes. If this ritual resonates, come hang out with me on Bold after 50. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and tell me your biggest fitting room pain point. Every week we'll redesign the life cycle of your wardrobe with tiny steps that go a very long way.